Sebastian Martinez, MMAnytt here in London with Melvin Guillard, who faces Michael Johnson at the UFC Fight Night London. So, you're back in London here, and how you're doing? You mentioned that you realize how expensive the cab rides are here.
Yeah, man, the cab ride here was like 110 pounds. That's like 160 in US. It was crazy, but it was worth it. I mean, we got to go past a couple of monuments, and we got to drive by a lot of, history, so it was pretty cool. The train rides I learned are a lot cheaper. So me and the wife, we've been sightseeing, but we travel by train, so it's been pretty cool.
You got to go with public transport in Europe. Now you're facing Michael Johnson, who was not your original opponent. You were supposed to face Ross Pearson in a rematch, who got injured, and now it's twice that fight has stopped under unfortunate circumstances. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it comes with the job. It comes with the territory. I'm a fighter. I train to fight. It don't matter to me who's in the ring. I've been doing this for 18 years, man. I'm a seasoned vet, and you learn along the way that matches change, opponents change, people get hurt. Unfortunately, Ross was hurt in the training, so I hope he get a speedy recovery. But right now, I think a lot of things happen for a reason in my life, and me being ranked number 13 or 14 right now, and Michael Johnson's number 8, that fight makes better sense for me because after beating Michael Johnson in a few days, I want to be able to, after beating him, fight a top 5 contender and be fighting for a title. Right now, the Ross Pearson fight is in my review. To me, it doesn't make any sense, but it would be nice to give that fight to the fans. As far as benefiting me, it doesn't really benefit me at all.
And style-wise, how do you feel about the change in opponent? I mean, obviously Johnson has a bit more wrestling pedigree than Pearson does.
You're talking to a state champion wrestler, bro. I got wrestling and judo pedigree, so I'm not worried about Michael Johnson's takedowns. At the end of the day, everybody have a game plan against me until they get hit. And when they get hit by me, I've seen it. I've seen it in fights where guys have a certain way they're trying to fight me, and then when they get hit with that first hard shot, they alter their game plans. I'm a game changer. You know what I mean? So my style it's hard to prepare for a guy like me. You know what I mean? I can't even identify what kind of style I have. I have a lot of people who I admired and looked up to, like Vitor Belfort, Kevin Randleman, Anderson Silva. Like I have a style that I've taken from a lot of different fighters and made it my own. So me worrying about Michael Johnson is the least of my worries. You know what I mean? I think if anything, he's worried about what's going to happen to him.
And he's also a former teammate. It seemed yesterday at the open workouts like you seemed a bit more playful than he was. He seemed a bit more serious.
Man, when you've been doing this job this long, I remember when I was a young kid and immature, I used to fight angry all the time. I used to make myself hate the guy, And when I watched Kel Sanderson wrestle in the NCAAs, I used to see him smile all the time, and he would just destroy people. And I kind of thought back on that, and then when I was on teams with John Jones, I would watch John fight. He looks at peace, and he looks calm, and I realized the calmer you are, the more work you can get done. You know what I mean? Because my coaches come into play when I'm in the cage. They walk me right through wins. I've won more fights because of great cornermen than I probably won on my own. And people don't see it like I see it. Like fighting's it's a science to it, but it's also a chess match. And as long as I can be the pieces of the chessboard and let my coach play chess, hey, I have every opportunity to win. Yeah, he was a little playful yesterday. I was a little playful, but me and Michael Johnson, we have the kind of relationship like we cool with each other. We keep it cordial. We keep it professional. We have good professionalism, but we don't really care for each other. We're not gonna sell everybody that we're friends. You know what I mean? But if he was getting mugged in the alley, I would help him. You know what I mean? He's not the kind of guy that I would say I wouldn't piss on him if he's on fire. I have guys like that I dislike in this business, but he's not one of those guys. But come Saturday, it's business, it's bragging rights. For South Florida, my new manager, don't like his manager, who used to be my manager. My team is the rival team to his team in South Florida, so it's a lot of bragging rights going on. So fights like this are the fights I wake up for. It's a fun fight. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make it as fun as I can, but I'm still gonna kick his ass.
Very good outlook on it. Yeah. Now, as you mentioned, you're a veteran, and he's still coming up the ranks. Do you think experience is going to be a big difference in this fight?
Man, you know, I think experience plays a factor in every fight. You know what I mean? I remember when I was like super young in the sport, I fought a couple of older guys that I shouldn't have fought, and I think I could have beaten them, but I think I was more overwhelmed that they did have the experience, and I had seen them on TV before. You know, that was like back in the day though, and I think that would cost me those fights. But you know, I'm just a bad fight for anybody. You know what I mean? I'm not the guy everybody's lining up at the door to want to fight. You know what I mean? I actually asked for this fight when Ross got hurt. I asked to fight Michael Johnson. So it wasn't like he asked to fight me. And then I heard one of his interviews, he was supposed to fight Diaz. He wanted to fight Nate, and Nate didn't give him the fight. So when he got me, and I heard the interview, he didn't really sound sure about wanting to fight me. He just said, okay. So, you know, you got to listen to those kind of things, you know what I mean? And like I said, there's nobody lined up at the door knocking the door down to fight me, you know what I mean? So, and I'm proud of that. You know, I made myself that kind of fighter. You know, I'm a very aggressive natured person by heart. So I'm not the guy, I wouldn't even want to fight me, to be honest with you. So I'm a bad fight for anybody. And I think that plays a factor. I think mentally in his head right now, he's like, "Oh shit, you know, he's gonna look for a way out."
Yesterday, open workouts, it seemed like you got a lot more support from the fans there than Michael Johnson did. I remember hearing people saying, "Go Melvin," and it's like that. How much attention do you give to that and those kinds of comments?
I give a lot of attention to it. You know, I mean, I fight for myself first, you know, and my family, and then the fans, you know what I mean? I want the fans, like, you know, in this sport, in this business, you want to leave behind a legacy, you know? And a lot of fighters, a lot of young fighters right now need to realize, you know, and I was one of those guys, but I was never a douche to fans. I was always nice. I always go out the way to sign autographs. I always go out the way to send autograph signature stuff back, you know, if it gets to me. A lot of fighters don't take that time to do that. And for me, I'm planning and setting my legacy now, you know, with or without the belt. I would always be able to go somewhere and people say, "Oh God, that's Melvin," you know what I mean? Because one day this sport will be done with me before I'm done with it. You know what I mean? I'm going to get older and older, and eventually I got to retire. So, you know, now when you're in the spotlight, you're in the limelight, you need to be more courteous to the fans and the people around you. And I think a lot of fighters don't take the time out to give back to the fans now. But they're going to wait till later when it's too late, and then what? Nobody wants to buy your jersey. Nobody wants to buy nothing with your name on it. You know what I mean? So I'm planning for my future, and I think I'm doing a damn good job of it.
Yeah, so far you've built up a pretty good legacy in the UFC. So now, Saturday night, how do you see the fight going down against Michael Johnson?
Me knocking him the fuck out? Not really. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely knock him out, but you know, I'm not one. I don't rush it. I'm not in a rush. If it goes 15 minutes, I got 15 minutes to beat him up. You know, if it goes to a decision, I'm gonna make sure I win every round. He's not gonna submit me. That ain't happening. But you know, I can't predict what's gonna happen in the ring. All I can say is I'm gonna be getting my hand raised at the end. You know, I'm definitely going home with the win. I'm not flying all the way back to the United States with a loss, back to South Florida. It ain't happening. That'd be a miserable ride home. So, you know, I'm excited. You know, I'm fighting the O2 Arena. Muse is my favorite rock band. They actually performed there. I'm actually walking out to a Muse song. You know, U2 performed there. Like that building has a lot of history, and for me to be able to fight in there, you know, it's me making history again. You know, I get to be a part of history. So I'm like, that's another thing that I'm excited about. You know, fights like this, these are the fights I wake up for. You know, because people are so worried about the fight. I think about the things around the fight, like what building is happening in, who's on the fight card, you know. I remember the first time I fought on the card with Horace Gracie when he fought Matt Hughes. You know, I was on a historic card, and I got knocked out of the night. So, you know, like I said, fights like this are the fights I wake up for. It's a lot of other things, you know, first time fighting in London. So I'm excited.
And what's your favorite Muse song? I happen to like them quite a bit too.
I don't have a favorite song. I buy all their albums. I buy all of them. I don't bootleg them either. I don't bootleg Muse. I don't bootleg Outkast. You know what I mean? You just don't. It's a godsend. You don't do it.
Very well said in front of a camera as well. All right. Well, we're definitely looking forward to the lightweight contest on Saturday between Melvin Guillard and Michael Johnson. Stay tuned and be sure to tune in on Saturday for UFC Fight Night, Gustafsson versus Manuwa. Thank you very much for the time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.